I agree. I'm going to get married in the next couple of, but the way I'm going to do it is completely different. So there are two decisions I made. One was I'm going to buy a home. So I'm not going to get married and be renting. And I'm also going to make a budget for this wedding that has an upper limit that is reasonable and sensible. But more importantly, I was not going to save for the wedding because it makes no sense. Because after the wedding is only a few hours, 3 hours, and then that money is gone. I would rather ensure that whatever out of my salary I can save up, right? Let's say my salary is X, and I can afford, let me just use random numbers. If it's 100K after paying all my bills times the period to when I think I'm going to get married, that's how much I'm going to spend on the wedding. Not a dime more. I'm not actually going to save for the wedding. I'm just going to pay for all the things that adds up to that amount, right? This is, again, living within your means. This is my salary. This is how much I have at the end of the month. But some other people do it differently, which is why I said it's personal finance. So some people will say, I will start saving the money. Then after that time, I will now get married. Money will be huge, whatever the amount. But me, I said, no, why am I doing that with that? No, it's this is the day I'm going to get married. Then even things now, in my own case, there was even crazy. I now decided to even bring the wedding earlier because I'm like, better for everybody. But I was able to stick to that budget, pay for things throughout the course of the period between the wedding by not saving. So I never even felt the impact where some people say they save up or save up X number of months before they get married. But I achieved the two things because part of what I also used the rest of my salary was to pay for the down payment for a house. So on the day I got married, 2 days later, I moved into my own home. So I was able to kill two birds with one stone. Now, like any other side of any argument, I know there are people that will say, oh, the salary is big, the salary is not small, the salary. It had nothing to do with that. It's the principle around it. And I've said it a number of times. At that same time, my own level, new hires in Mobile were not buying houses. So in case you think that this was, everybody was doing it, no. They were even also not thinking big. Everybody was buying land at that time. They buy land in some random place. And for me, I thought this, right, that no, this is, I want to do something, do differently, conventional wisdom. I remember the day I moved in, my supervisor was coming to visit his friend that lived 2 houses away from me in Friends Colony. And then as he was driving, he saw me. He was like, that's Ken. He wasn't sure he was seeing the right person in the right place. I came out, I said, okay, how are you? He said, you live here? I said, yes, sir. He was like, are you rent? I said, no, I bought that. You bought, so this is my manager, and he had worked, my supervisor, he had worked maybe 8 years longer than me. I was like, how did you do that? I was like, no worries. By the time I got to work on Monday, by the time I got to work after the leave, everyone was like, how the hell did you do it? In fact, a lot of people were now motivated, and they stopped that mindset of buying land in random places, Bejuleki, like just some good to do, right? And it's all back to the same thing of what you're trying to achieve. Now, I also use the context of employees that wanted to buy cars. All employees around the time were earning about the same thing, but some people were able to get it done, some were not. I understand different people have different responsibilities and all of that, but you need to take living within your means as the most important thing. Now, there's a couple of personnel that have some challenges, and I don't even want to get into that, but at the core of it, this one line is a very weighted statement and something you need to take back with you when you live here and say, how do I get to dial down? There are a lot of unnecessary things. I know when I was working with Wi-Fi Go, then I saw a person paying for Spotify. I'm like, can you really afford it? You use Spotify when all the songs are in YouTube that is free. Right? Those kind of decisions, you are paying Spotify, but you complain later that you don't have your salary is not enough. I was just looking at the person, like, if this person knows that I myself don't have Spotify, the person will be shocked. Like, I only got Spotify last month. So you go think about it, right? Right? The CEO just got Spotify last month. You have had Spotify and wasting your $9 times. Now that dollar is 500, good luck. You're paying 4,500 for music. Okay? Those kind of decisions, right, makes no sense because, again, this is personal finance. We're having a conversation. It's left for you to make your decisions. But you need to line up all your bills, the thing you're paying for, and say, does it make sense? And the way I run my own personal finance, the way I run my business, we pay Amazon $3,000 a month. But every month I go through that bill and say, why am I paying $3,000? I will send an email to around there, ask them to look at what they can do. Not as if $3,000 is breaking the bank, but again, $3,000 times 500 naira is a lot. So personally, all the things you spend money, you need to list it out and critically ask yourself, apply R cube to your expense and say, why am I spending this amount? Because maybe if I cancel this Spotify, I probably can live a lot more. The music is the radio music. Like, I'm using that as an example, something as trivial as that to explain how not living within your means. Because if you look at $9.99 Spotify, and let's say your salary is $150K, all of a sudden 5,000 and 150K, that's some, it's starting to add up. You've not added feeding, you've not added a lot of things. And that's the list of many subscriptions that you have on a monthly basis. Now, when you go past that living within your means, what you end up with by moving things that don't make any sense, you end up with a small amount that you can set aside every month. Okay? And with saving, which is the second item on this thing, saving is how you can get things done. So, for example, in my case, I wanted to buy a house, I saved. Right? Saving is difficult. I'll also share another story about saving so that you understand where the other story, how insane the other story is. My home in French Colony was actually not my first home. First home was when I was in Canada. So at the time I was buying French Colony, it was my second home, right? Now, how again is it that an individual is able to buy two homes when some people can't buy one? Some people that have worked longer than him cannot buy one, right? Because from the first day when I went for my master's, I said at the day, again, with the same concept with the wedding, I said at the time I finished working, I want to have bought a home. And then start with the end goal, and then walk backward. Again, I've taught you guys about goals and personal goals, right? And same thing. When it was time in 2008, was when the world was in a recession. It made no sense. Home prices were crashing. But that's a positive. If you've already said you're going to buy X and the price of the thing you want to buy has gone down, that makes no sense. You now know that, yes, I'm going to go ahead with what I was doing. So I did that. But right after that, I also took a decision to move back to Nigeria. So what that meant is I'll be paying a mortgage in Nigeria, in Canada. And obviously, if I move back to Nigeria, if I try to buy a house, means I'll have two mortgages, which is almost impossible. There's nobody that can afford two mortgages. So the only solution is to rent the one in Canada, right? And then obviously, whatever, hope that covers your mortgage. But halfway in the year, I had a bad tenant because I was rushing. I was rushing to move. I basically did everything online and all that. I had a bad tenant moved out. So there was 2 months, right, that I had to, despite the fact that I was getting ready to get married and all that, I had to cover the rent. But the only way I was able to do that is because of some small saving that I had. And again, the only reason I was able to buy that house too was because very early on I already started saving. So it may look like it's not a lot, but you should just save every other thing once you've paid every bill, because you never know, anything can happen, right? Now, once you started saving small amounts, right, and there are things I'm working on that's going to help employees save, right? I think we're large enough now, 200 odd employees, that we can formalize it the way we did it in mobile. So some of the things we're able to do in mobile because obviously we have a large amount of staff. But I think now that we're more than 200, about 200 employees, we can now formalize our saving. So, but I'll announce that. I haven't finished the conversations around that, but that will help staff save more and also reduce the taxes you're paying. So look out for that in the new year. Okay. Now, when you've saved, no matter how small, part of that savings is for emergencies, like I already explained, with the tenant moving out and all that, right? But investing is what you should do with part of the money. Now, that is where you all have to know your personal abilities. Not everybody is good at investing. So I know it seems like just because you're earning a salary, you're a smart person, you're an engineer, doesn't mean you're good at investing. No. Right? Again, I gave you an example of people that thought MMM was an investment, or people that are investing in agric stuff right now in 2019 to 2020. Right? You need to figure out what your risk appetite is, and then the first thing is one of the first things you need to know about investing. You don't understand what you're investing in end to end, right? I'm going to say something that is a little controversial. FX trading is not investing. Those of you that are doing it, and I know you, some of you who are close to that, right? Crypto, zero. That one is as close to gambling, but it's not called gambling as possible, right? But if you believe you have a great understanding of it and you have the ability for that risk appetite, that's fine. Remember, I told you of someone that believes that they can time when all of these things are going to. That's fine but understand that if you're investing, you need to diversify, because that's the first thing about investing. Not put all your eggs in one investment. Because we believe that some investments will be the more you put in it, if you're going to get a lot more. So, for example, if you have this idea that is giving you 30% to invest, if you put more in it, you get a lot more, right? But that's not how you should think about it. You should be able to put different amounts in different buckets of investments based on their different risks. So, for example, it could be your home, if you're at that level, right? Okay, and it could be something as simple as fixed deposit you put in the bank. It could be something as not as crazy as some of these startups that are doing saving. That one is another thing. Again, we'll have a conversation on which one is real and which one is. It's not all the startups are secured. Not all of them have backed by NDIC and all that. But it is good for you to make those kind of investments for amounts you are willing to lose. So you're living within your means. You're saving some amount after going through all your bills and all of that. Pick an amount that you're comfortable with, not everything, because that's another problem that a lot of people they want to invest. You pick everything, your own savings, and go and dump somewhere. As you dump it, that's how it will run. But always pick the amount that you're willing to lose. That's another rule you should have with investing, right? At any point in time. So story number 3. I know everybody's aware of this. I'm an investor in Paystack, right? And I had the opportunity when I looked at everything, I said, this is a very, 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 it's a very, like, I like the startup, I like the founder, right? I got the opportunity to invest. By the time I reached out to him, wanted to go ahead with the investment, I said I was going to invest X, but a week later, and I told myself that, man, this startup investing, you need to understand, this is 2016. Nobody had made any money in startup. So anybody, they are going blind faith again right? I now said, okay, you know what, please, I only do half of what I initially wanted to do. Not because if I had done double now that they got sold for 200 million, that means whatever I should have made is double. But I felt that if this doesn't work out, this is the amount I'm willing to stomach and support and as an investment, right? So it would have been good if I doubled that. By now, I'd have gotten double as a return, right? But again, personal finance, the way I handle my things, risk, and I'm like, no, let me just, I know I like this and all of that, but let me do only what I'm able to do personally. Okay? Then it goes to the next item. Leverage versus loan. Leverage is when you borrow for investing. Loan is when you borrow to buy something like car, wedding. Some people do that. I know it may sound ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous, but people actually do it. People even doing it in Tizeti, right? I've seen requests, I want to marry, I want to borrow money. At the back of my head, I'm like, what? Why not? Again, let's forget my own personal feelings around spending money on wedding. Why the hell you? So that means you're going into a union. You're already behind in terms of, instead of moving forward, right? But borrowing to invest is fine. Again, if you follow the steps that I already talked about, which is the amount you're willing to lose. So remember that you also, the one you're borrowing, you should be prepared to be able to stomach it and shouldn't wreck you as an individual if investment doesn't make any sense, right? So leverage is important, it's good. Leverage is, I got a mortgage to buy a home. I didn't have the money to buy the home, but I was able to borrow enough to buy the home and then pay it down over time. And again, you can see how it's a gift that keeps on giving. So I had my own money, and maybe I shouldn't say that. The reason why I was able to buy that home was because when you get confirmed in mobile, they give you a certain amount. Most people use it to, again, marry, do other things. I was able to use that as down payment for the loan. In paying that down payment for the loan and then borrowing the rest from Stanbic, I was also now able to see the opportunity as while paying the mortgage that it's time to figure out something which is investment, which is doing some kind of business, and that's how Tizeti started from French Colony. So if I did not, again, let me draw the line. If I did not come back to Nigeria, think about saving, living within my means, think about putting an amount aside, think about borrowing some aspect to buy that house, there will be no Tizeti today, because it's while I was in French Colony, I'm like, see all these rich people, I'm sure they can afford to pay for internet every month, right? And that's how it cascaded, and we are where we are today. Okay? But leverage is good. So borrowing to invest is fine, as long as you can afford to pay the interest and all of that. But borrowing for an expense is bad, right? I think one of the statements that I was taught was, he who goes out borrowing goes out sorrowing. That borrowing is not leverage, it's loan. Okay? Now, there are people that will listen to this speech or not even listen, because I know some people, they attend town now because they only attend because it's mandatory, which is fine. Take a hard look at your own personal finances and go through these 4 steps, right? Don't borrow to do anything that doesn't make any sense. But do borrow if there's an investment that you think makes a lot of sense, right? Do make investments, but amounts that you are willing to lose, small amounts. Don't carry everything you have and then just boom. Because in fact, when you are doing that, you feel like a gambler, because you do not know an investment again, and then depending on your risk appetite, do save, but make sure the amount you have saved is more than what you're even investing. And please, right, live within your means. If you have subscriptions, all of those, just take your account statement. I think the easiest way to do it is just print out your statement in 2020. You're going to feel very bad by the time you do this step, and go and tick off every event and anything you spent and say, did I really need to? Especially I'm working from home at home, so maybe data, like, just go through it and then say, right, how do I make sure all I'm spending is less than what we are earning? And for